Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're using another really fun team built by TSL Tang, who has built a lot of some of my favorite teams on Road to Ranked this year. You may remember like the Comfy plus Zekrom team that we featured, the Physical Regieleki team, the Swagger Fini team, and they're back with, once again, another really cool creation. So this revolves around support Dragapult with Citrus Berry as well as Weakness Policy Mamoswine. Now, Mamoswine is in a really interesting place in the meta, right? Like, it can hard counter a lot of really popular picks like Thundurus, Landorus, and Incineroar. You're going to see a combination of those so often on many of the teams that people are using these days, and the Mamoswine can just one-shot so many of them, right? The other thing is that people just never expect Weakness Policy on Mamoswine. I think most players expect Life Orb or maybe Focus Sash. And certainly when you see Dragapult Mamoswine, I wouldn't think like, oh, Surf plus Weakness Policy immediately, right? I think often I would be like, oh, Dragapult's going to max, they're going to Airstream, or they're going to Phantasm, set Mamoswine up for more damage. But nope, it's a full support Dragapult. Will-O-Wisp is also a really nice tech move, right? Because when you see this team, I think you often think Dragapult is going to max, but if you Will-O-Wisp a physical Pokemon maxing on turn 1, you kind of just can get such a large advantage immediately. So Dragapult plus Mamoswine is one of your key combos here, but there's some other really fun stuff like Extreme Speed, Magnet, Regieleki. E-Speed is nice just because it has higher priority and can often finish off things just with a little bit of damage. It also allows you to actually potentially Dynamax Regieleki with this team. Like, obviously, Mamoswine's going to be the main max option, but Lele and Eleki are also totally viable max options. Choice Band Urshifu, which definitely packs an extra punch, more so than people expect. Pixie Plate Tapu Lele with Taunt and Dazzling Gleam Moonblast, so no Protect on this thing. It's designed to just be disruptive, be fast, and also set up terrain while also controlling the terrain. We see so many Rillabooms and Finis in the format. Lele, can obviously slow those down a little bit in the sense that Rillaboom outside of grassy terrain is significantly weaker, and Fini often is used to, protect its partners, for example. And so Lele can take a little bit advantage of that and allows you to will those things a little bit easier. And then finally, you've got Whimsicott, classic Whimsicott. It does have Helping Hand, so Helping Hand's nice because you can Helping Hand in front of something that might click Fake Out on you on turn 1. The Whimsicott also doesn't have Protect, but that makes sense, especially with this team, because you have Lele to switch in for that Psychic Terrain in case your opponent tries to go for Fake Out on turn 1, right? So if you lead Whimsicott plus something, you can bait out a Fake Out, switch into Lele, Tailwind, and then go from there. And then Whimsicott does run Absorb here as well, so you have 2 ways to activate the Weakness Policy on Mamoswine. So I think this is a really fun team. The creator was able to finish top 30 on the ladder. They've just been a really incredible best of 1 player and team builder, and they've really built some of my favorite teams on Road to Ranked this year. So shout out to them. I've linked their Twitter down in the description below. And thanks so much as always for watching Road to Ranked. If you enjoy, please show support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what one move is you could take away from any Pokemon in the format and why. I think it'd be really interesting if you took away Fake Out from Incineroar because it's, such a crucial part of its kit. But at the end of the day, even if you take away Fake Out, like, it still gets Intimidate, Parting Shot, U-Turn, Flare Blitz, Darkest Lariat, Snarl. So it would be really interesting to see how a format would play out, or how things would shake up if you took away Fake Out from Incineroar. So that'd be my answer, but curious on yours all down in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, getting into things here. Pretty interesting stuff. They have Tailwind, Regidrago, so I wonder if it's Scarf Drago. That could pose a problem. Though Lucky can still speed it. I'm honestly thinking about Whimsicott Eleki, slow things down a little bit, and then close out with like Dragapult Mamoswine. Huh, that's intriguing. Alternatively, what if I just go Whimsicott plus Mamoswine? Now they do have a Kartana, so Dragapult being able to burn it is valuable. Would you really bring Drago into this matchup? I guess that's the other question, right? Like, I have 2 fairy types here in the Whimsicott and the Lele. Could even just lead Whimsicott Lele. That would hard punish that lead. I'm honestly kind of intrigued by Dragapult plus Whimsicott because I can burn things. It seems so weird because it's so passive, but I don't know. I think it could make some sense. Dragapult, Whimsicott, Mamoswine, and then I probably don't want Urshifu between Lele and Eleki. I like Eleki because of his ability to slow things down. I don't know. I think Whimsicott Eleki was probably the better call here, but if we can start off the game with the burn on Urshifu or Kartana, it gives us a significant advantage. So it's kind of what I'm going for here. We'll see if it can actually work out or not. But yeah, definitely some interesting stuff here from my opponent's team because, like, what are the main max options? Kartana. That's the one that jumps out immediately. They're going to go Urshifu. Okay, so this is actually what I was kind of hoping to see. Because turn 1, I can just match Tailwinds and then burn the Urshifu, and that's a good start for us. Okay, so let's go for Will-O-Wisp here. And, man, I don't even know if I really want a Tailwind. What else would I do, though? I wish I had Taunt here. I guess I have to Tailwind, because if I don't Tailwind and they Tailwind, they'll just outspeed us, right? So, yeah. And then what's interesting is I could potentially just switch my Whimsicott out into Mamoswine and Surf next turn. Okay, yeah, we match Tailwinds. That's good. I'm happy with that. So as long as we don't miss Will-O-Wisp. Okay, did not jinx myself. Thankfully, nice. Okay, burning a physical attacker to start off the game is always fantastic. They're going to just Wicked Blow here. That's fine. Interestingly enough, we don't have Moonblast, right? So, like, if we did, I'd actually contemplate just going for Moonblast here. They don't know we don't have Moonblast, though, so they might play scared of it. Like, I could see them protecting... Here's a really interesting option. If they protect the... Urshifu... So, like I said, I wanted to Surf here and then switch out into Mamoswine. I think I'm down for that. And then we can bring out a Leki. The only downside is by giving up Dragapult this way, I don't have Will-O-Wisp for the potential Kartana that my opponent has in the back, right? So then dealing with Kartana can be a little bit tricky because we don't have Fire-type damage. Or really strong, not electric, really strong special damage. So, let's see. Ideally, they protect here with the Urshifu. We get the Weakness Policy activated. Or they switch out. Works for me. Is that Kartana coming in? If so, it'd be kind of frustrating because I had the opportunity to Will-O-Wisp. And it is Kartana, but that's fine. Ah, and they go for Taunt to cover. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yep. So, I'm going to activate the policy here. Oh gosh. That is... a little bit less than ideal, I would say. And it's a eject button too. Whoa. Honestly, now, like, I'm thinking we Breaking Swipe Max Guard, let them KO Dragapult so I get a free switch into a Leki, so then I can Electro Web. I guess the alternative is we can just max a Leki right now as well, but I don't love that option. It's one of the downsides, right? Self-crit. Okay, so we have Breaking Swipe here. I like going for Breaking Swipe. And I think I want to max Guard here. I really want to max a Leki. Okay, I think I'm going to Breaking Swipe max Guard. Let's see how this plays out. You know what you should do if you're my opponent? Oh, they're not maxing? That's interesting. I was going to say max Kartana and then go for a max Airstream. Anyway, it's definitely a little unfortunate we crit ourselves, but that's the downside of going for a strat like that, right? I have to be aware of the potential crits. So, it feels like Colossal where we do just so much damage to ourselves. Okay. I mean, yeah, ideally they give me the free switch into Regieleki. Like, that's what I'm fishing for. So then I can just Electro Web and then max Hailstorm into Kartana. Okay, they actually close combat into Mamo. Oh, that makes me think... Oh, they doubled up into Mamoswine. Now, this is where having Ally Switch is really interesting, because I think it's likely they just make the same play again. So I could just go... Oh, I'm still taunted, never mind. Oof. Pretty sure this is Choice Banded. Man, do I actually switch out? Can I take a close combat and a Smart Strike Dynamax? Well, let's find out. I think I'm going to stay in. Okay. That works for me. Great switch in, though. I could have Quaked. I should have Quaked instead, yeah. And they get a competitive boost. Very cheeky. Very, very cheeky. Isn't Quake always the better play there? Like, what am I covering for as a switch in? Not really much, right? That being said, Breaking Swipe actually did a significant amount of damage, so we take those. Yeah, we survived close combat. They could have stayed in with Kartana and I think maxed it, but I can understand why they didn't want to max a Kartana at -2, so that makes sense. Okay, either way, we'll get the Hailstorm off. That's got to be a crit, right? Okay. I guess the Milotic has no defense? That's... wow. Here's the problem, though. Okay, Taunt wears off, Tailwind wears off, Tailwind wears off, so you bring Whimsicott back out to click Tailwind again. They haven't maxed yet, so it's definitely going to be a Kartana max, and we know this Whimsicott has Taunt. However, we have Ally Switch. And our Taunt just wore off. So, like, I'm thinking here, we haven't gone for it yet. Go for the Ally Switch. And go for the Steel Spike onto Whimsicott. Because this Urshifu is on a timer with the Burn and the Hail. Oh. That's really interesting. Okay. Makes sense to sell out my Dynamax. Oh, they just double protect. Huh. Okay. The reason I don't mind that is because your Urshifu just takes, like, a fair amount of damage this turn, right? Although Steel Spike didn't make a lot of sense because I don't think the defense boost matters here. And if we Hailstorm, I'm pretty sure Whimsicott actually would have fainted. Which would have just won us the game instantly. So that, yeah. I guess I should always Hailstorm there because the defense boost is irrelevant in the late game given that it should be Kartana Dynamaxing anyway, I think. Okay, so now I've revealed Ally Switch, so they should always click Wicked Blow at this point. So we have the numbers advantage. Unfortunately, we don't have Ice Shard. You should Tailwind and then Wicked Blow into Dragapult. Huh, but I do have EQ. Wait, if I just pick up a double KO, then we should win, right? Oh, not necessarily. Kartana can definitely pull off a comeback right now. Yeah, I totally didn't think about Whimsicott protecting there, so Hailstorm would have just punished that. I'm going for EQ and switching out the Dragapult because I would like to potentially burn Kartana with the Will-O-Wisp. So here's a question of whether or not they read into Ally Switch this turn, or whether or not Wicked Blow KOs Mamoswine with the burn. Let's see who they targeted. They did target the Mammal slot. Okay, so if I went Ally Switch, EQ, we would have been up 3. We would have been up significantly. Okay. Now you're going to taunt the Whimsicott, right? Oh, I have Extreme Speed here. Wait, hold on. It's actually really interesting. That is very interesting. But I don't have any damage into Kartana at this point. That's the problem. Kartana's already taken a little bit of chip, though, right? So, like, I could just E-Speed Whimsicott here. We should survive a Wicked Blow. They're going to taunt my Whimsicott. But E-Speed's priority is fast higher. Yeah. So we can Extreme Speed here. Oh, I did have Moonblast. Why was I saying I didn't have Moonblast? It's late. I'm tripping. Okay, I guess my only fear is Extreme Speed doesn't KO Whimsicott right now. Okay. I guess I could have Tailwinded this turn. No, I get an extra turn to Tailwind this way, right? That's better. It's not even a 2-hit KO onto a Lucky. Okay. I mean, this is going to be close. It's 3v1, but they have a Kartana fully healthy. I really messed up by not going for Max Hailstorm, and like going for that defense boost didn't make very much sense because Urshifu's going to go for crits in the late game anyway. But very unique interaction with Extreme Speed there, which is super, super interesting. I think this is probably AV Kartana, right? Now it's a question of who the Kartana targets. Obviously, I can Tailwind with Whimsicott and then like protect Aleki, but I wonder if they read into the protect and target Whimsicott instead. We're super low HP in the back as well, but I think I will go for the Protect. Even if they make the read, it's still winnable. But if they end up targeting into the Regieleki slot and we survive, then we're in pretty good shape, I would say. But I'm assuming they're Assault Vest Kartana here. This has definitely been a really interesting game one way or the other. But I'm just like a little bit upset because I think Hailstorm would have KO'd Whimsicott through the Protect. And I think that would have been enough for us to win the game. So I'm hoping they target Regieleki here, but I think it's likely they will target Whimsicott. I don't know, but I don't think I can risk it. If Whimsicott faints, I get Dragapult and I can Will-O-Wisp the Kartana. They go for Overgrowth. That should be into Regieleki then. I hope we survive through Protect and Hail. Oh, that's so close, but I think I end up fainting here, don't I? By exactly enough. They were Life Orb. Oh, Hail Scott! Oh my goodness. It's Life Orb Kartana as well. I mean, it makes sense. Is there AV on that team? Okay, either way, I can go for Helping Hand plus T-Bolt now. Yeah, I mean, if they don't have Assault Vest, then they're not taking these special attacks very well. So then Breaking Swipe plus Moonblast should actually be enough to finish off the Kartana. Wow, what a crazy game here. But let's see, it's still not over, right? Should do a lot, though. Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, that's exactly enough. We're good here. Knuckle is a good play, but at this point, we've gotten too much damage on the board. I have no idea why I thought Whimsicott didn't have Moonblast. That's what happens when you record kind of late. Either way, they switched out that turn, and I think would I make the Surf play again? Probably not. Yeah, Kartana just faints. Oof. Oh, that was so close. If there was one more turn of Hail, we would have fainted from the Hail there. It would have been exactly enough, right? 10 HP. So, talk about a first game to kick things off here. But I don't know. I can't help but think I misplayed a bunch in that one. So, yeah, we'll take the win. But I'm not super happy about how I played it. I mean, the lead ended up working out really well for us. Like, getting the burn on Urshifu was great, but I think, like, the Surf switching was a little bit risky, as we saw, and I ended up getting crit by myself, so that wasn't ideal. The Max Guard ended up working out that turn on Mamoswine, and then we actually, survived another turn with it. But definitely some interesting items on that team, right? You had the, presumably, Sash on Urshifu, Eject Button, Whimsicott, Life Orb Kartana. And I think if it were just classic AB Kartana there, we would have lost that end game. So fortunately for us, it wasn't. But what a wild game. Wow, this is a really cool team. Garchomp, Crobat, Fini, Incineroar, Scizor, and A-Ninetales. Does Crobat get Swagger? Because I'm wondering if there's like some self-Swagger strategy here. Either way, I really love Mamoswine here. It has to worry a little bit about Scizor, but that's fine. Like, I think I'm down for just Dragapult Mamo. And then, I mean, Urshifu's not very good here, right? Yeah, not at all. And then I think it's just a Regieleki Lele in the back. It feels weird because I think Whimsicott could definitely put in some work here just by setting up Tailwind. Also has Moonblast for Garchomp, so maybe it's worth bringing, but with the Scizor, the Ninetales, and the Incineroar, I'm a little bit scared, and the Crobat, to be honest. I'm a little bit scared about bringing Whimsicott, especially because I don't have Protect on this Whimsicott. So, yeah. Mamoswine should be an incredible sweeper here. It one-shots, 4 of my opponent's 6 Mons, even when Dynamaxed, if we get the policy off, and that's Insane, Garchomp, Crobat, and Ninetales. So then it's Scizor and Fini to watch out for. Yeah. But Scizor and Fini, like, we have some answers to. Scizor, one of the best answers, honestly, is to just set the Psychic terrain up. You can't Bullet Punch anymore. But obviously, Scizor could go for those Max Steel Spikes, and we just had some issues against Kartana, which is a Steel type. But they're going to go with Ninetales and Incineroar. Okay. So, turn 1. Now, unfortunately, we're thick fat and not oblivious, so we will get intimidated here. However, it's still relatively free to just go for a Surf Max Quake turn 1. Yeah. I mean, I guess the question is, like, do I actually want to go for that? Because I could, like, theoretically switch out. But it still gets the ball rolling, and even a +1 boost is really good for us in this matchup, in my opinion. So the only interesting thing here is, like, to not target the Incineroar. And and you go for a Steel Spike instead. But Incineroar theoretically could Parting Shot, so I think I am just going to go Surf Max and Quake here. I think it's likely... Oh, wait. Low-key, Incineroar could switch out into Crobat here, turn 1. I think the odds are pretty slim. But I don't want to waste a Max move on turn 1, so I actually will just go I will go for the Steel Spike on a Ninetales. And the thing here is, even if they Parting Shot, well, I guess you can actually bring Incin back in for another Intimidate. Actually, that's kind of problematic. And they stay in here, which I don't love to see. It also makes very little sense to have Crobat in the back, to be honest, because why? Like, then you've committed Incineroar, Ninetales, and Crobat, and, like, none of those are really big offensive threats, right? Ideally, they fake out Mamoswine, not expecting the Dynamax turn 1, but it's probably not going to be a fake out, yeah. I don't love that. The Quake play would have worked out in the end, but I don't know. I mean, it's still okay, right? Like, the worst case is not even that bad here. But, let's see. Alright, they go for a Roarveil, that's fine. Steel Spike should still KO the Ninetales, so we still have an early lead. We still have Will-O-Wisp pressure if they bring Garchomp in the back. And we'll get the KO here onto Ninetales, which is, you know, still an offensive threat to the Dragapult at the end of the day. Okay, so that's out of the way. Defense boost is quite nice here in this matchup, given how many physical attackers my opponent has. But I guess I could see Parting Shot and then you bring in Fini right now. They did Parting Shot, yeah, nicely done. Nicely done. I like read too much into the Crobat there, and that like swings the game significantly, unfortunately. Because now they have screens, I'm at neutral, and they can bring Incineroar to bring me down to -1, and if Fini comes out, things get really dicey. But I do have a Lecky and Lele in the back, so it's not the end of the world. However, there's... if I wanted to deny a Roarveil, it's tough, especially when you have Incineroar next to you as well. But they bring Scizor. Okay, here's what's interesting. Is Fini your last one? Because if not... Actually, even if it is, I can just switch, like, Mamo... would I really want to do that? I was going to say switch Mamo out and then go into the Lele, change terrain, Will-O-Wisp, Scizor. So I'm very curious what their fourth is right now. I think Fini is by far the strongest option, but if that's the case, it means no Garchomp, which means no Electric Resist, which means Dragapult... Or sorry, Lecky in the late game is pretty good. They bring Incineroar back in. Okay, works for me. I mean, they're not really respecting Will-O-Wisp right now. If you're not Lum Scizor and I burn that thing, my opponent's going to be in a pretty tough spot. But I'm at -1 and they have screens up, so unfortunately Mamo's not really doing too much damage right now. But I'm down to just go for a Will-O-Wisp here onto Scizor and then just launch a Max Quake onto Incineroar. It'd be really impressive if they use this as bait and then just hard switch Incineroar out into Fini. But I feel like that's relatively unlikely. If they go for it, kudos. That's a really nice play. But I still don't mind our position too much because I think we have a good Pokemon advantage here. And if I burn this Scizor, it puts us in really good shape. Unless it's Swords Dance Scizor, but even then, you're still at just neutral and you're not doing that much damage. Nicely done. I think it's Fini coming in. Great execution. That was really good. That was really, really good. So kudos to my opponent there. Wow. Well played. Well played. Yeah, it would make so little sense for them to have Crobat in this. They're going to max the Scizor immediately, which honestly, I'm okay with. I guess the main tricky thing here is, like, there's a lot of turns of screens to deal with right now. I'm not breaking through it. I think, objectively, it's just better to breaking swipe there just to cover for the Scizor switch in. Sorry, the Fini switch in, but masterfully done there. Yeah, that was really nice. Okay, so Will-O-Wisp does not work. We're still faster. Get a Quake. Oh, this is going to do like 20% of damage, though. We're at -1 and they have Reflect up. Okay, honestly, a little bit more than I expected. But you can see, I think if we had just targeted Incineroar turn 1, we would have won. And I think risk versus reward, even if I'm scared of Crobat in the back, like, it's fine, right? It's Crobat. Like, then my opponent has Incineroar, Crobat, and Ninetales. None of those are really doing that much damage. But I have to give my opponent props because I think they've played this game really well. And if we lose this, it's one in which, like, I absolutely had the matchup, but my opponent just outplayed me. And, I mean, props to them. We still have one more turn of Max to work with, but I honestly want to just switch out the Mamo into Lele immediately and just Will-O-Wisp Scizor. I think this Quake's still doing decent damage to this Fini. I'm down for a burn, though. I guess the only risk is if we miss here. I could just stay in and attack. Go for another Max Quake. You know what? I'm down here, I think, to just breaking Swipe and Max Quake. And the main reason for this is because I'm still getting more damage onto Fini and stalling out another turn of Scizor's Dynamax, and Regieleki has a pretty nice endgame for us here. But Fini does protect, okay. That's fine, though. Yeah. I think my opponents actually played the first 3 turns of this game basically as perfectly as they can. So, seriously, shoutouts to them. And if I were to lose to a Pokemon, I'd be very happy to lose to Scizor, honestly. So, I'm rooting for him. But, like, all the chip damage on Fini is pretty good, right? Because it's setting up a Regieleki to just come in and click Thunderbolt. They probably Knuckle again? I could see them Steel Spiking now. Okay, yeah, they're going to go for another Knuckle. That's fine. Okay, we take that. Now what? Now is where I actually really do want to switch in Lele and just Will-O-Wisp. And I think that's an okay play. Because our Mamoswine's faster than them, right? And if Psychic Terrain is up, you can't even Bullet Punch us, meaning we can just Earthquake. Which isn't bad. The good thing about Fini having leftovers here is it's basically not actually healing up because of the hail, right? So... Will-O-Wisp switching a Lele last turn would have been really nice, but I think I'm just going to make that play now. I guess the risk here is maybe they Steel Spike Mamoswine now. If they do, I think Lele could maybe even survive, but I feel like I've actually been outplayed every turn in this game. And the crazy thing is, like, it's still pretty close because I think we just have a significant team advantage, which goes to show how important, like, having a good team in Pokemon is, right? But I'm nervous about missing Will-O-Wisp here, or them being Lumberry. Both would be pretty scary. Okay, Dragapult's better than Rotom, connects with a Will-O-Wisp there, so thank you. Not Lum, perfect. I'm gonna launch Moonblast into Dragapult. I think we might survive this. Wow, so clutch. That wasn't even close, to be honest. So if they don't Steel Spike here, we're in really good shape, but even if they Steel Spike, it's fine. Max Airstream. Okay. I like that play a lot. Okay. I was not expecting that. That's really interesting. The reason the Lele switching would have worked out so well for us the previous turn is because the Fini protected, and then they didn't Airstream there, so we would have outsped. Okay, so we're still faster than the Scizor with Lele. That's interesting. They can't Bullet Punch right now. We've still got Breaking Swipe. And I've got a Regieleki in the back. Also, like, if we just stall out their Aurora Veil, obviously my Regieleki can come in and just Electro Web a bunch. I also have Ally Switch. I haven't used it here in this game. Could Breaking Swipe... Does Moonblast KO Lele from this range? I would think so. Be surprised if we survived. Okay, I'm down to Breaking Swipe and Psychic here, I think. Get the free switch into a Regieleki if they knock one of the two out. This is a wild game, but... Games like this always feel frustrating to me in the sense that, like, I know I had the matchup, but then I just got significantly outplayed. Also, like, I like, outgamed myself. Also, another great turn. Like, yeah, I feel like my opponent's done pretty much everything right this game. So let's see if it's enough, because it's still, like, I've been just conserving this Regieleki the whole time, right? Like, that's what I've been aiming to get in safely. They go for a U-turn. Ooh, is that enough to KO? It's not. Interesting. Okay. Very interesting. So now it's another question of, is that enough? Sorry, do you have a Light Clay on the Ninetales, or is it Focus Sash? Because if not Light Clay, your screens are over now, which means a Regieleki can finally come out and just go to town, right? But one thing we do have to keep very heavily in mind in this matchup is terrain control. Because if they get the Misty terrain up, then Scizor can Bullet Punch in subsequent turns. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think my opponents actually played each turn basically as well as they could have. So I'm a little frustrated in switching Lele turn 2 earlier. I also just didn't see the Airstream at all from Scizor, and I guess I should. I'm coming from dual Wing Beat. If they don't have Airstream, then the Lele outspeeds. It just puts us in a significantly better position, right? Okay, heal stops. Now Fini's healing back a little bit. I mean, if this thing has Calm Mind, things can get out of control as well, to be honest. So I'm also nervous about that. It was Light Clay. Oh, that's frustrating. Okay. I really wonder here if they... You don't... Like, would you risk Muddy Water? Because what I can do is... I do think here, there's no better move other than to go for Ally Switch, so we might as well. I'm going to just go for Ally Switch, and I'm just going to go for Psychic here onto Fini. Because if we get this burst of damage off, it puts the Fini in... That's interesting. Okay, so they're conserving the terrain. I see. Oh, I see. And then they were trying to KO the Lele here, I would think. But they just got rid of their speed boost, which does help us a little bit. That's probably AV Scizor, right? Oh, and it's Snarl Incin. Okay. This is such a wild game. The thing is, we still have this late game Eleki. I still have Mamoswine as well. They don't put on that much... I just don't want to switch Eleki and get Snarled, especially when there's still 2 turns of Aurora Veil. I guess then we can Protect. You can switch Incin out into Fini and Bullet Punch right now. Would you really want to do that? I think I want to switch out into Mamo here. And then go for a Breaking Swipe. The good thing for us is that Scizor is on a timer with each turn of burn. And once again, I'm still waiting for my Eleki to just come in and, you know, close out the game with Electro Web and T-Bolt. But my opponent's playing so well, so yeah, kudos to them. Okay, so they didn't go for the switch and the Bullet Punch play. You could, like, U-turn and Parting Shot here, which would be really interesting. Okay. It is U-turn. For basically no damage, though. I don't know, like, my opponent just lacks damage right now, so we can leverage that to our advantage, right? Okay. They're going to bring out Fini, obviously. But what's interesting now is I do have a potential Earthquake, right? Like, one play I can make at some point is... Not some point, is just switch out Dragapult into Lele if we survive the turn here with Mammal, like if they went for a Snarl. Yeah, and they go for Snarl. Okay. Great. So we actually get Mamoswine in safely, which is actually phenomenal for us. That's a really big deal. Yeah, that's a really big deal, I would say. Because now I can just Earthquake, right? Breaking Swipe Earthquake. Okay, let's think this through. If that happens, where do we end up? Unless Incineroar has Protect, but the odds of it having Protect are so unlikely. Ah, there is one more turn of Aurora Veil. That makes me a little bit nervous. That makes me a little bit nervous if we don't KO. But then I think Eleki Lele can seal it up. I'm just hesitant on Earthquaking right now. I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for the Breaking Swipe and the EQ. They switch out. They switch out. Great play. Great play. Okay. But you know what? I don't mind this too much, I think. Because now you don't have Bullet Punch. Well, maybe you do. Maybe Scizor survives the Breaking Swipe, EQ, and Burn. It probably does. But then I just bring Lele in, and then there's no more Aurora Veil. Oh, man, my opponent's making me work hard for this win. Let me tell you that, so props to them. Okay, Scizor is very close to fainting. And now if I bring in the Lele, you don't have terrain control anymore. Now, one thing I have to watch out for is Fini swapping out into Incineroar at this point, but I don't think it's too much of an issue. Aurora Veil finally wears off, so... Oh, the only interesting thing... I think we just go out into Eleki here, right? Yeah, we definitely go into Eleki. Okay. Eleki. I've got Magnet on this bad boy. I think the play here is to swap out into Lele. Because this thing does no damage right now. Sorry, this thing. Yeah, it's at -1 and it's burned. Like, the burn was just such a big deal. And I can just T-Bolt Fini here. And the Fini just... Like, you can't do anything to stop this, right? And then now I win the Terrain War as well, unless you swap the Fini out into Incineroar. But if you do so, I guess Scizor could U-turn out. Actually, that would probably be their best play. Swap Fini out into Incin and then U-turn. Okay, they go for Protect, and I suppose U-turn? Wait, sorry, didn't they Protect last turn? That's a double, right? I could be wrong on that, but I thought so. Wait, did I not, like, take the double into consideration? They also didn't make the mistake of bullet punching. They haven't made, like, a single quote-unquote mistake thus far. But I still think their damage against this Alecki in the late game is lacking. And the key thing here is that they can't fake out this next turn. And if you can't fake out this next turn, I can finally just go for Earthquake, I think. Protect Alecki and Earthquake. Yeah. This is one of the most wild games we played in a while. I'm actually a little bit nervous about losing to Timer right now as well. But I think it's just Protect EQ here. Watch this Incineroar have, like, Shook a Barrier protect this entire time. That would be crazy. Okay, they switch out Fini, but that's fine. Yeah, you can't fake out right now, so... But I can see what they're going for here. But in the end, they just kind of lack damage output into Alecki specifically. Please just KO the Incineroar. Okay, it's not Shook a Berry. We get Earthquake off. Nice. That was like one of the hardest games I had to work for, it feels like, where we had such a significant team advantage, but honestly my opponent played so well, but at the end of the day our team just matched up better into theirs. So that's my team. You know, teams are an important component of Pokemon. Like, I really want to give my opponent props though, because I feel like they played incredibly in this game. And like, it's crazy, if I actually just max quaked into Incineroar turn 1, this honestly probably wouldn't have even been a game. In the sense that it's just so hard for my opponent to come back from that. And this is why I was worried about Timer, by the way. There's only 3 minutes left, but I'm just going to Iron Head and T-Bolt now, and that should be a wrap. But what a wild game. Yeah, I mean, kudos to my opponent, honestly. Like, they played really well for what I think is a very difficult matchup. And actually, Magnet T-Bolt was just enough to one-shot there, so that's nice to know. It's, I guess, not super surprising there, but whew. I can't remember the last time on Road to Rank where I had, like, a favorable matchup like that, but then had to, like, still work hard for the win. But this is a good testament, like, as, like, a good point to point out where I just played safe for the majority of this game, right? I never had to make any aggressive predictions, and my opponent predicted my safe plays, or, you know, basically played better than me. And, like, their plays not counter my safe plays, but like, it feels like they were one step ahead in terms of those safe plays, where if I took maybe a little bit of a risk, I could have accelerated the game rapidly, but in the end, it was still enough to win because this Alecki win con in the back was so good, and then they just never really offered, like, or presented too much damage. But that was, I don't know, that was just super wild, and definitely, I think my opponent made the most out of what was a really tough situation, and the Aurora Veil just made things tough to break through, but fortunately, if we didn't hit that Will-O-Wisp on Scizor, by the way, they probably win that game, so we're lucky that we ended up connecting with that. But there were so many plays I could have made that would have just, like, ended this game really quickly, right? Whether it be the Max Quake onto Incineroar or the Lele switch in turn 2 of Scizor's Dynamax when they went Protect Knuckle. I think both of those would have just given us a significant advantage in the end. But, I mean, in the end, they had no damage for that Alecki, and they kept cycling out, in and out, but they just, like, couldn't actually one-shot the Alecki very easily, and that's why I wanted to conserve Mamoswine just for Earthquake later on. But, yeah, let's play one last game here. Alright, last one of the day, and I just laugh because this is like a really bulky team, and that last game was almost 20 minutes, so might be in for a doozy here. They've got Grimmsnarl. I don't want Fake Out, so it's gonna get a screens up. Okay, ideally we make them set up Light Screen, and then, like, Mamoswine's actually really good here, right? It hits almost everything for super effective damage, so that's really good. And we have Thick Fat, also good. Honestly, I'm kind of down for Lele Urshifu here, because we can crit through if they reflect. Lele obviously puts in work. Do I want to go Dragapult Mamoswine or Whimsicott Mamoswine? Will-O-Wisp is not valuable for us at all from this thing. I guess we have Ally Switch, but I'm down for Whimsicott. Okay, wait, the only hesitation here is that they just go Torkoal Venusaur, right? So perhaps we go Whimsicott Lele, actually. Yeah, Torkoal Venus scares me a bunch. Whimsicott Lele, Urshifu Mammal. One thing to watch out for here is I might not get the Weakness Policy off, especially if I'm leading Whimsicott. Like, that's one of the reasons why I was thinking Urshifu Lele as a lead, but Urshifu is very good cleanup in this match. What'll be interesting is that they just go Grimmsnarl, Registeel. If they do that, then I'll be kind of sad, because Lele plus Urshifu would have just, like, crushed it, especially with the Choice Band damage. Oh, and we have Taunt on Lele, too, actually, so that's pretty handy. But they go Grimmsnarl P2. Okay, I'll take that. want to do turn 1? I don't want Grimmsnarl to get both screens up. Got Pixie Plate. I definitely don't want them to Trick Room, though, so I feel compelled to taunt into Porygon. I guess we just say, you know what? Get your screens up. Good luck. Don't love that, but it's better than them getting Trick Room up. Oh. Okay, this works. Registeel? Sure. I'll take that. This is where Taunt Lele is actually really handy for us. Okay, if these are your 3, what in the world is your 4th then? Grim, P2, and Registeel? I was originally thinking Torkoal, but I feel like it should be Venu. Also, I just revealed Taunt, so is Registeel really going to set up on us? That would be a little cheeky. Still going to Taunt it, though. Yeah, I'm going to just Moonblast Porygon here, I think. I could Taunt and Moonblast Registeel to cover for a switch, but we'll see if the Registeel is a Steel-type attack. That's my main question right now, because a lot of people right now like Iron Defense and Amnesia on Registeel. So if they don't have a Steel-type attack, like, this thing's not going to do anything. I guess you could Ice Beam Body Press into Whimsicott. I wonder if Body Press would KO from this range. Probably, right? Okay, they go for Body Press. That's fine. I still like taunting there, because the thing is now I get a free switch in. Oh, but I guess the only downside is I could have switched Lele out into Mamo and just gotten the policy off and gone from there. Now I'm playing without Weakness Policy. Unless I bait them to Body Press me. Okay, I like the idea of bringing out Banded Urshifu here immediately, honestly. And I feel like they're probably not expecting Band, so like, I'm down to just Moonblast, actually Psychic in case they switch this out. Moonblast Close Combat, even if you switch in Venusaur, that's taking so much damage. Alright, I'm down to double on Registeel. Get this out of the way. They stay in, that's good. Woof! Oh, that's a choice band difference. Oh my goodness, that just one-shot. Okay, that's actually so good, because now it's like, if you bring in the Grimmsnarl, after Moonblast, Close Combat should still just KO the Porygon anyway. That's awesome, okay. Oh my goodness, Moonblast does so much, and we get a special attack drop. That turn could have not played out any better. As long as we don't get a status condition here, we are moving. Okay. The big question I still have is, what's your Dynamax Pokemon? I feel like it's Venu, but if it's Venu, Mamo actually wins that trade-off, because you would just activate our policy with Vine Lash. And they just bring Grimmsnarl. Okay, well, like, I'm banded, so Close Combat's just going to KO Porygon, so I think I'm down to just Moonblast Grimmsnarl, Close Combat Porygon here. I guess the one thing here is they could have Ally Switch on Porygon and then Spirit Break. But no Ally Switch. They don't even set up screens, so it's like, isn't your Grimmsnarl just fainting here? Pixie Plate's actually making such a big difference here too, by the way. Okay, I mean, this should KO, right? Dude, Lele is so good. What? What? What is their last one? This is like it was Torkoal. See, this is why I was so confused, and this is basically what I was nervous about from the last game, where like, oh, if my opponent had Crobat, for example, but you can see that they just had no Dynamax option. I guess they were probably just planning to play completely towards Registeel here. They're like, hey, if I get a single Iron Defense off of Registeel, just wins the game. But they didn't set up screens early on. I don't know, I mean, Landorus and Venu are by far the best max options on that team, with Porygon being like a flex max, but obviously Mamo just wins against Torkoal at this point, so we take those. We absolutely take those. And I think we had a pretty favorable matchup here, to be honest. And I can see why my opponent was nervous about bringing Landorus or Venusaur, because Mamoswine completely crushes them, right? But in the end, Grimmsnarl not setting up the screens, I was kind of surprised by. Although, as soon as Grimmsnarl came back out, it was probably too late at that point. So, yeah, we can just Psychic CC here, and then Mamo finishes things off. But I think my opponent had little room to work with here, so even though it's, you know, I was surprised they didn't bring Venu or Landorus, it makes a lot of sense, because Mamoswine just hard counters both of those super, super hard. So, I think my opponent's best bet in this game was, yeah, I think their whole game plan was to just set up Trick Room, right? Set up Trick Room and then Registeel just sweeps, but the Lele was by far the MVP of this team, or of this game. The taunt alone saved us because it meant Porygon couldn't set. Like, my opponent's team revolved so much around setup, especially the 3 that they prioritize on, Grimmsnarl, P2, and Registeel. All of those, like, rely on using non-attacking moves for a turn, right? So I can see what they were going for. I think they were like, okay, I'm nervous about the Mamoswine. I am just going to set up Trick Room. I'm going to get an Iron Defense or Amnesia up with the Registeel, and then you're not going to be able to KO the Registeel. And quite honestly, that's actually a really smart game plan. But fortunately for us, we had Taunt on Lele, and once the Taunt comes out from Tapu Lele on turn 1, there's so little my opponent can do, honestly, from that position, especially without a Venusaur in the back. So maybe their best bet was to Dynamax Porygon at that point. They probably also weren't expecting the close combat one-shot on Registeel. I actually wasn't either. I was, that's why I doubled up into that slot. But the double up there basically covered for everything other than a Landorus switch in. So maybe it's actually appropriate to Psychic there, because if we Psychic, it just basically, Psychic plus CC, she can knock out Landorus or Venusaur. And if Grimmsnarl comes back out, it's not really a big threat anyway. So I think if I were to replay that turn, I actually would go for Psychic over Moonblast, just to cover for a Landorus or Venusaur switch in there. They didn't have it in the back in the end, but, we don't know that, obviously, at that point in the game. So we take it. But, yeah, I think, like, this team is just really impressive in terms of damage. Mamoswine is a really nice, like, Dynamax option. And, like, so many times we played with Mamoswine in the format, it's been either Focus Sash or maybe Life Orb, but never Weakness Policy. And so people just don't expect, like, the burst of damage that you get at +2. But to be honest, it wasn't the best day for Mamoswine in the sense that in game 2, like, I didn't really get to fully sweep with it, and my opponent, like, basically made it significantly weaker in the first couple turns, and in game 3, like, maybe we didn't even bring it out really, but definitely a really fun set of games. And yeah, I mean, the original team creator has created some of my favorite teams that we've used on Road to Rank this last year, so thanks once again to the team. Details in the description below. Like I said, they were able to get top 30 on the ladder with this, I think, in the last rank season, so if you're looking for a fun team to climb with, once again, this is one of them. So yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed, don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. Alright, peace.